I'm Mala. Here's my friend Suchitra, and two of us have been working on the material that we are in possession of the master craftsman block maker who lived in Pethapur, Maneklal Gajjar.
So Mala and I really didn't know one another, though we are both graduates from the National Institute of Design. We ran into one another at another event, and she was telling me over lunch something about the materials that she had received, and quite intrigued by it, I went over to Baroda, and that became the start of the project of our working together. So we are going to be taking you through the exhibit that we put together of our learnings of the life and work of Maneklal Gajjar. And in this endeavor, we have been supported by the India Foundation for the Arts based in Bangalore, as well as the Parijat Foundation, which has supported this work for over the last 18 months.
Thank you, Sameer, for being here. You've been a friend, but Sameer Khera is the president of the Heritage Trust Vadodara chapter, and Pradeep and I both thought that no better person than him to inaugurate our exhibit. So thank you very much. It's a privilege. Here is Darshana Dave. She represents India Foundation for the Arts. From there, we got a grant to work on this project. It's been, thank you very much for supporting us.
So Pethapur is a small village on the outskirts of Gandhinagar, and the only way to reach Pethapur actually is by bus, unless you have your own vehicle. So we start with the bus stop of Pethapur, where we are arriving, and onward into the workshop of Maneklal Gajjar.
So this photograph was taken a couple of months ago, early morning, about 6:37, and you can see that there is already a lot of activity at 6:30 in the morning. And but this is not how it was a few years ago, where it was not so easy to reach Pethapur. You could come here from Ahmedabad, Gita Mandir bus stop to Vadaj, and that's when to thermal plant, and then so it was quite a trudge coming to Pethapur. But when you did come to Pethapur and when you came to the bus stop, you already could hear the tapping of the blocks being chiseled away, and that kind of gave you a sense that a lot of people were already there. In fact, I can say that the city woke up with the sounds of tapping on the wood where the blocks were being carved. So here, to give you the sense of Pethapur as a little town, these are the street scenes. An important house on the main road of Pethapur, just to give you a sense of the kind of town that it is today. Again, these pictures have been taken a couple of months ago, and so this is what the street looks like. It's really quite sort of a city which is at the cusp of the old and the new. A lot of old buildings are being brought down and the new ones are coming up. I think proximity to Gandhinagar has brought this new prosperity and real estate boom. Also, but you can see the kind of homes that you have. At one time, Pethapur must have been a very prosperous town, and it was in fact under the Gaikwad regime for a long time.
So if we zoom out and see a Google Earth image, we see Pethapur as a small speck next to Gandhinagar, and further down is the large city of Ahmedabad. And the fortunes of Ahmedabad and Pethapur are quite interconnected because Ahmedabad was a big printing center, fabric printing center, and the blocks came from Pethapur. Both Pethapur and Ahmedabad are on the banks of the Saudagiri river, and you know water is very crucial to any kind of craft activity with textiles. This is a view of Pethapur in the 1980s. The image has been captured by the graphic designer Pethapur, and it gives us a kind of feel of Pethapur town. And here towards the left is the three-storied home of Maneklal Gajjar. On the top floor, he had his workshop where he worked with his assistants. And this ground floor doorway, which we see over here, is actually that doorway in 2015.
This is a very impromptu image captured by Pradeep. The day we loaded the truck bringing all the archival material to Baroda, and when the house was being finally shut. So there's me, of course, with Maneklal's 3 daughters. This is Veena, the eldest. This is Jagruti, the one in the middle, and that's the youngest, Neela. Here is Kanubhai, Maneklal's cousin, who's still alive and in Pethapur. You see there is the board of Maneklal Gajjar, which is a board over here. It says Maneklal Gajjar, Master Craftsman, National Award winner.
Documentation of craft, talk about processes, they talk about the skills, the tools. If we don't know anything about the person who does it. So this archive is very special because it gives us a glimpse of what the man was thinking, what was his thought about his own work, and what was the social conditions, what was he like as a family man. So it rounds up the personality of a craftsperson and gives depth to our understanding of craft as both attitude as well as skill. So that's essentially what I think is very, very remarkable about this opportunity that we all have in seeing the world.
Also to add for all of us Barodians, he had close connections with Baroda. As you know, Damodar Gajjar, that most of you know, was his cousin. Their fathers were their brothers. Kanubhai is the 3rd brother's son who is still alive, but unfortunately he is not able to come. So we are really coming up full circle. That's gorgeous and good. So Sameer, now you are the man. So I will tell you how we have planned. I was wondering how would Maneklal have liked to open his exhibition, and what is it that the block maker does? A block maker, after he's finished carving the block, would take a parat, a paper impression that how it has been carved, right? So I'm told, I was very afraid to hazard a guess, but fortunately in one of the films or one of the press cuttings, he has said that he has over 1 lakh of block print impressions. That's the kind of blocks that he designed and carved. And so I'm going to get our chief guest today to print a block impression. This is also very significant. There is a temple clock called Matani Pachedi in Ahmedabad, and after printing the border, which is actually designating itself as a shrine, before you print the Mata, you take Ganesh. Like we all think of Ganesh as the first thing. So this is the Ganesh, and they always have it in profile. And so this is what I have had done, which Sameer is going to print, and these are the blocks that Maneklal Bhai has made for me over years. So he made a little blanket. So he's going to open, and then we walk into his studio. So, yes.
Ma'am.
You are a righty.
Ma'am, precisely.
You have to print.
Ma'am,
You're a
ma'am.
lefty. Oh, wonderful.
Sir, outside.
That is printed here.
Just as an aside, Genesis does these 3 walks, 3 I think, or 4 at BODHI over the last couple of years, and I've actually done the block printing as
Good, sure. I'm not trained.
So it was a dress rehearsal.
You know what to do. That's good.
go in, here we have tried to recreate the workshop that Maneklal had. Of course, it was much deeper than what it is here, but it still gives you the sense of the kind of space that he must have had. So here is a very endearing image of Maneklal, shot by Samar Jodha in 1999. He is a very renowned photographer, as all of you know. But as you can see in this image, Maneklal seemed to love to surround himself with all his work and his accomplishments. Even as a student and later when I did visit him, there was always a happy clutter around him. His place was not always so tidy as one would expect, but you like to look things and see what was going on. And these are all his, you can see this cupboard here, which we have here, and the same chair on which he is sitting, the table here, and of course all the other blocks that he carved and the press that he got international and the certificates that he received. So they are all here for us to see.
Of the extended Gajjar family. The surname Gajjar indicates that he belonged to the carpenter caste. As you know, the carpenter community did not only make blocks, they also made homes, they made temples, they carved the parts of the temples, they made pull-up carts, they made agricultural implements, doors, windows, chairs, tables. So this was the large repertoire of the carpenter community, and Maneklal's father and grandfather also made these objects, apart from a specialization in carving textile blocks. If we look here, we see an image of Maneklal's workshop, and this is before he had his table and chair, but it gives us a good idea of how the workmen worked on these three-legged stools which we have displayed over here. If we move this way, we will see a display of all his tools, much like it was kept in Maneklal's own workshop, and the finer tools which each craftsman made for himself. They are bearing the kind of details that needed to be carved and were fashioned by each craftsman according to their convenience and the needs of the motif that had to be carved.
So after having a look at the workshop downstairs, here we are in this section trying to give you a sense of what is it that Maneklal achieved in his life, what were his accomplishments. Also, what was the legacy that he inherited and how did he like to present himself as a modern craftsman. So let's begin by looking at the biodata. Now biodata is a fairly modern way of presenting yourself to the clients to whom you want to solicit work for. So these are the handwritten drafts that he made, and he also had them typed either in Gujarati or in English depending on whom he was presenting the biodata to. Over the years, he's made several biodata depending on whom he was showing it to. Several drafts and several achievements which were very meticulously enlisted chronologically.
In this image, we see Maneklal sitting with a booklet of prints that came as orders from Thailand, and here is one of those booklets in which we see the kind of prints that were required to be sent to Siam, and you have also some details of the block maker and block printer in Gujarati as instructions as to who would carve and who would print. And these are an example of the Saudagiri blocks
So here I am about to show you an old block that we found in Maneklal's archive. This is a Saudagiri pattern, and with this, these Saudagiri fabrics were printed in Ahmedabad, as we saw them earlier. The length of this fabric was generally 2 meters and 75 centimeters, which was used as a wraparound skirt by the men and women of Siam. But unfortunately, this business came to an abrupt halt in 1940. One of the reasons was the breaking out of World War II. The second reason, as it is understood, is that even Siam went through a Swadeshi movement of its own, and therefore they were discarding the fabrics, textiles that came from abroad, and they started to make their own fabrics. So now the block makers and the block printers were looking for new markets, and that's when these Saudagiri patterns came to the local markets of Ahmedabad in the forms of saris and other fabrics for local consumption. But what happened interestingly was that the size of the pattern became larger, and even the size of the block became larger.
So when we use the word craftsman, we sometimes think of a isolated individual working in a small area. But Maneklal's career trajectory shows that what he inherited was this a place in the global trade in Indian fabrics, which was that his products were going quite far away. And he had this idea that he was located in a larger world, which included Thailand, London. He knew these places and he knew his relationship with these far-off places in the world. So in 1979-80, Maneklal gets the National Award for Block Engraving. This is the bronze plaque that he received for this award-winning design displayed just above the plaque. That is the award-winning design for which he was acknowledged with this honor. In the archives on the left you can see Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, the president, giving Maneklal the award. And to the left we even have the telegram congratulating him on the award, and we believe that Maneklal didn't believe this telegram because he received it on the 1st of April and he thought it was an April Fool's joke till the award was confirmed and he was able to enjoy this appreciation. Before the National Award, Maneklal's work was already included in museum collections. This one is called Washington Modrishya and it is in the collection of the Baroda Museum. And right below is a block that he made which was displayed in 1972 in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. So he had an international recognition even before the national recognition, and that's quite significant for a craftsman working in a small town like Pethapur. But if we look at these two awards against the backdrop of this other very important, significant object from his archives, his spectacles, we also know from his description that the power of these lenses was -15, and we can see how carving such minute blocks put immense pressure on his eyesight, and towards the end of his life he really lost vision in both eyes. Receiving the National Award made a huge impact on Maneklal Gajjar's sense of his own identity, and we see that reflected in his visiting card and his bill books and letterheads, where he starts putting this information that he is a national awardee on the masthead of his bill books and letterheads. Here, if we look at the reproductions of the letterhead, we see that he has clients in all parts of India. A few of them are represented here, and there are clients in Bombay, Chennai, Bangalore, Kolhapur, Jabalpur, Indore, and many other small and big towns of India. So we know that he has a kind of national level business operation, and he's running this like a very modern business. We'd like to underline that the word craftsman now seems to be quite a narrow term for a person who had this all India presence and a big business which he was organizing out of this small village called Pethapur. Yet, at the same time, his professional life also made space for personal interactions. And if we look at these translations of letters that he exchanged in Hindi, with Amber Prints, which was based out of Delhi, we see that not only are they talking about business dealings, but they are also talking about how are their family members, if somebody has had an operation, are they back from hospital, is everything well. And this family of Purushottam Bhatia of Amber Prints was the one who actually hosted Maneklal and his family when they came to Delhi to receive the national award. Purushottam Bhatia took the daughters out to Agra and Fatehpur Sikri and organized things in such a way that they had a really good time in Delhi while their father was away at Rashtrapati Bhavan. In the archives, we also have Maneklal's account books for about 20-25 years, in which we see records of the kind of money he spent on daily activities, how many bags of milk he bought, when he ordered a tiffin service, and so on. This gives us a glimpse of the micro domestic economy of a craftsman and the kinds of details with which these were recorded, and quite meticulously as well. Acknowledgement receipts from the Post and Telegraph Department, and the one below is from the Railway Parcel Service, shows us that you cannot run a national level business without the Post and Telegraph Department and the Railway Department. Right? And also central to the practice of a craftsperson who is making wooden blocks is wood itself. And these Imarti Lakkad Samachar newsletter shows us that Maneklal was keeping an eye on the wood market. When are the auctions taking place? What are the new varieties of wood which are on the market? And so on. And these were bought in wholesale and kept ready for orders which kept coming in from all over the country.
So like I mentioned, I had an old association with Maneklal since I was a student at NID and later when I started to print. So here is one of the invoices that we found in the archives and the kind of blocks that he had made. Of course, these are just a few. He made several over the years. And here are the impressions of some of the blocks that he made for me, which we are still using. So another very interesting account that we found in Maneklal's archive are his very meticulously kept visitors books, and there are 4 of them that spans from I think 1966 till about 2011, and it's fascinating to read that because the number of people who visited him from all over the country, from overseas, and the kind of impression that he made on them, and therefore the kind of reviews that they wrote, their memories that they shared with him, the kind of sketches that they made, impromptu sketches that they made in his books. There's also a visiting card of Alfred Bühler, the very well-known historian, anthropologist from Basel. He came often to Ahmedabad and he had a very close association with Maneklal, and they also they collaborated together on a few projects. This is someone who's written in Japanese. I don't know what it says, but obviously he seems to have been rather impressed with him. So, as we see through his visitor's book, this is the last entry in his visitor's book by Mushtaq Khan, who was the deputy director then of the Crafts Museum in New Delhi. And the date, it says, is 20th of November 2011. Maneklal ji passed away on the 13th of January 2012. So just about 6 weeks before his passing away, he was still receiving people and extremely enthusiastically, passionately sharing and showing his work, sharing his stories and experiences. So Mushtaq Khan had taken with him a delegation of Japanese people from the UNESCO Intangible Heritage Group, and they were in India to work on the Saudagiri craft. The account that he shared with us was incredibly vivid description of the day he spent and the things that were surrounded with by Maneklal. So Maneklal also had Ajrak printers as his clients, and he had a very close association and a long association with them. Here you see on display the blocks which have been made by Maneklal, and they are from the archives of Muhammad Siddiqui and family. I must thank Chapar and Ismail for having loaned us these blocks for everyone to see and enjoy. But here is something interesting. In the early 70s, when Gurjari was being set up by Brijbhushan Bhasin and Gujarat Handicrafts and Handloom Board wanted to have traditional artisans make things for the urban markets. The job came to NID to make fresh new lot of designs that the Ajak printers could print, and Sulekha Gulri, one of my seniors, was given the task of making these patterns. The blocks were carved by Maneklal. They were printed by the Ajrak printers and the Muhammad Siddiqui family and were sold through Gulri. So here we see that Maneklal also made a bill, and it says that after his death, everything goes to his wife. Unfortunately, it's his wife who goes before him.
Whenever we think of traditional Indian block prints, we normally associate visually with these kinds of prints like the ambi, little buttas, booties, jals, and familiar things, motifs like peacocks and parrots and elephants. Maneklal has a huge collection of these in his archives, but his archives also show us that he was doing a very wide repertoire of designs, moving quite far away from these kinds of motifs which we often narrowly associate Indian block prints. An example of the range of his curiosity and experimental nature is this example of a clamp resist block that Maneklal carved in 1975 for the Calicut Museum. They were doing research on clamp resist dyeing of fabrics, like the example is in this book, and they asked him to reproduce this one example, which he did very enthusiastically, even knowing that this was not going to be very commercially lucrative. The next set of exhibits show us the wide range of Maneklal's aesthetic repertoire. Here we see reproductions of luxury Indian textiles like ikat, patola and bandhani, which he has reproduced with great minuteness, and in the process these luxury textiles became available through block prints at affordable prices for the mass of the people. Another set of numerous prints are these alpona-like motifs, which we like to call Shanti Niketan prints. also very popular. It's important to remember that we don't really have any dates or chronology for these because Maneklal never dated any of them. So we don't know when these were made, but we can see that the Indian public, the consumers, had this great appetite for novelty and variety. For example, here there is some mimicking of applique crafts, of embroidery, of folk art, rather like Jamini Roy's paintings. So these were also enjoyed by the public. The next set of prints are quite our favorites, both Mala and me. We call these the Indian landscapes. You can see kind of illustrations of Indian rural life, illustrations of tourist destinations within India, and the kind of fairs and festivals which were celebrated on the subcontinent. So you can see more examples here in this file, which shows the exuberance of rural Indian life. And in stark contrast are these very European prints of bunny rabbits, of scenes from Mother Goose Fair nursery rhymes, very Art Nouveau kind of deer illustrations, which makes us wonder who were these people who wore these fabrics, what use were they put to, but they are each delightful in their own way. Another intriguing set of prints are of Chinese landscapes filled with pagoda and women with parasols, boats carrying people in Chinese costume, which makes us wonder whether these were sort of adaptations of the Parsi Gara designs. Once again, like Ikat and Patola, these two were luxury textiles, but their rendering in block prints makes them available to ordinary people who could kind of use these Chinese designs on their garments, but not at the expense which would have been involved if they were actually embroidered.
So Maneklal didn't think that he was a block maker only for traditional designs. He himself said that his repertoire was fairly wide and large, and he also considered that he made blocks which were modern and which were abstract and which were, suggesting all kinds of other genres of designs. And here we see a block impression, which is actually, he is trying to mimic the brush strokes. Now, this requires incredible amount of understanding of what a brush stroke would be like, and to try and get that in a wooden block, a teak wood block, would be requiring great amount of skill and understanding and sensitivity, and all of us are extremely impressed with the way he has been able to show the flurry of a brush stroke through a wooden block. So we have some examples here. So here they do look like as if these have been hand painted using brush, but actually these are all hand block prints. And it's quite incredible the way he's been able to get the effect of the brush strokes. This again is a very favorite series with both Suchitra and me. These are scenes from Bombay. Brings back many memories of having spent my childhood in Bombay. You can see the old lady's shoe at the Kamala Nehru Park at Hanging Gardens. And these are some key important landmarks of Bombay, like the Rajabai Tower and the University and the VT station, etc. And these were, by the way, commissioned for Bharat Dyeing and Printing Works in Bombay. The owner was Chandu Bhai. He is no more, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a guesswork as to whom did he print these for and what were they used for. We really have not much idea. But this he did make for Bharat Dyeing and Printing in Bombay. This is an interesting section. This is where people like us, the designers who graduated from NID in the late 70s and early 80s, came into the professional world and went back to Maneklal Bhai because we were familiar with him. And I can say that because there was never a no for something that was quite sort of unusual and different and can't be done. was extremely proactive in developing design for with us, in the sense how a block would be carved and how it would be easy, how it would be made easy for production, etc. So these are some designs that my senior Ravi Kaur made. Of course, as you can see, the inspiration is from the miniature paintings, and she had several such tree foliages and the textures. And these are some things that I made, where again our NID training comes and it's very visible, where you have several motifs that kind of come together to make different surfaces and add different colors. So this is an interesting butta that I designed, I think in the year 84, and we are still using this butta for our prints. But while looking through the archives, I found this pattern quite by chance, and I see that it's Maneklal who actually developed this pattern of stripes using just the crown of the floret and the leaves, and he created the stripe pattern. I think it's quite ingenious and it's quite creative, and I wouldn't call this my own print. It's interesting to see how one print develops and gives many more ideas for many more surfaces and many more patterns.
So Mala just spoke about how Maneklal adapted her butta into a stripe pattern. In his archives, we can see how he made a print out of William Morris's honeysuckle. It's a very famous design by William Morris, and we see it in Maneklal's parrots also. So this question of how motifs were adapted and circulated around the world raises many questions. Of today, there will be issues of plagiarism, copyright, and so on. Another example is this print by the two sisters Susan Collier and Sarah Campbell, who designed fabrics for Liberty and Company. This was one that they did called Alhambra. We see the same pattern. This is theirs in 4 colors, and Maneklal also has done this motif. But if we go to the Calico Museum, we find that there are Kashmir shawls from the 18th and 19th century bearing the same motif, though these are much larger than Maneklal or Sarah Campbell's designs. So the question of the circulation of prints nationally as well as internationally raises many questions of authorship, which are not very easy to resolve, because for over a millennium many motifs have been circulating all through the Indian Ocean world as well as across to the Middle East and Europe. During the research period, we came across this book called Indian Textile Prints, which was published by a Dutch publisher, which is filled with prints from Maneklal's archives. So towards the end of his life, Maneklal actually began selling his prints to collectors, and perhaps this was one of those occasions. However, this gentleman has put together these prints in a form of a book, which is accompanied by a CD with high resolution images for people who buy the book to make use of it as wrapping paper or greeting cards. The only problem with this kind of circulation of prints is that it doesn't mention Maneklal anywhere, but seeks to have copyright for professional use of these images. So the fact that neither Maneklal is acknowledged as having a part to play in these prints, nor any economic benefits accruing from the circulation of these images, makes it difficult to digest this form of circulation, even though we do know that for the past millennia or so, motifs have been circulating all over the world, and it's hard to pin down authorship.
And the fabrics were known as Saudagiri largely because there was Saudagar in between. There was a trader, and that's the word Saudagiri comes from there. And it was a three-way partnership. Like, as you know, there was a block maker in Pethapur. There were printers maybe in Pethapur and lots in Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad actually prospered during that time with this textile trade, and therefore it was very well in position to receive the mills when they came, because they could adapt to the mechanization, because it was a material that they knew like the back of their hands. And there were the traders in Surat, and all of this stuff was exported through the ports of Khambhat and Bombay. And it was, you know, the Gujarati Vanya Buddhi came into fore over here, because when the people from Siam said that we want this print in 100 meters, the Gujaratis will make 2 or 3 more variations, say, oh, we can do this also, maybe this also. And so instead of 100 meters order, they would probably get 400 meters order, and the business just thrived. And I have been wondering that if for 100 years, if Saudagiri business worked so well, and it's a common knowledge that it kind of fell apart because the World War II broke up, and you know the sea routes were like full of battle ships, etc. But probably that was not the only reason. I think the people in Siam realized that, wow, who are these Indians who are making so much money on us? Why can't we do it ourselves? And I have yet to investigate more into it.
They also had a Swadeshi movement.
They also had a Swadeshi movement, yes. And so they, I think, started their own printing over there, and the way business kind of came up in the same fashion, it kind of collapsed. But what is interesting is that Maneklal was at the cusp of that time. The business collapsed, and he had to find something else to hang on to if he wanted to continue his ancestral business. Which is when I believe that the times that he lived in was very important. NID coming up. Sarabhai is inviting all these wonderful people, the visionaries, and all of them going to him. And in this whole tour, we have not yet spoken about one particular gentleman who actually picked up Maneklal from Pethapur and got him this global recognition, is Haku Shah. And Haku Bhai Shah is also a product from Baroda Finance, one of the very early ones. And we are very fortunate that his son is a dear friend, also from NID. So he's also giving us a lot of insights into the conversations that his father had with Maneklal Bhai. And Kukul Ben had taken on Haku Bhai to find out who are these hidden gems. We are told who are these hidden gems in the area of craft, because Haku Bhai had the leanings towards that. And that's how Maneklal got introduced to various different people, and Haku Bhai remained his mentor throughout his life. And that friendship and that bonding remained, which was just so wonderful. Yeah.
I think we also should say a little bit about the difficulties. I think one is that the materials are in very fragile condition. So even just inserting it into these plastic sleeves, it crumbles, it cracks, and all of that. So a lot of resources are needed to actually secure this work, because it's not in good condition. So that's one. You saw all that's left over. We've taken out about 500 pieces to show you. There's another 25,000 there. So there's more in that room also. So we are up against a very difficult kind of situation in terms of securing the kinds of things that we can learn from his work. If we were to actually sit with the prints and try to see and match it to the receipt books, to see actually who is ordering what is
what time of
taste in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we need a lot of cross referencing to be done. So we need actually a software which can kind of keywords and put it in. And
in fact, ma'am, when IGNCA team came to the palace, very kind of them to have spent one afternoon with us here as well. And I mean, it was very helpful for us to have them, but you really need that kind of resources and that sort of the personnel to do that.
They were charging 2,000 rupees to secure one.
Wow. Sorry?
2,000 rupees to secure one.
Oh.
I mean, in terms of stabilizing the material.
So that it has a longer life. So
Conservation.
I asked, I was so exasperated because he said, you need this, you need that. I said, I have nothing. So what is the life of the material that I'm hanging on to?
Actually, this plastic is
Not
good.
yes. Plastic is not heat
because there will
summer
be
heat.
heat.
It will stick.
It will stick.
All, everything.
This is just
This is
just
just
also
these
weather doesn't
show-
help. See, we are in a city where everything needs to be kept in a controlled temperature.
Yes.
Otherwise, we have extreme heat. I mean, it can go up to 44 degrees, and it can also be about 12, 13 degrees for 2 or 3 months, 2 months at least in Baroda. So also these need to be constantly brought out and aired and all of that, which is a task in itself. One is sitting in Bangalore because I also want to know how the craftsmen's second and the third generation kind of, they don't abandon the craft, but how wonderfully they move on with life and the way society takes them. So Maneklal's need, like we talk about what Suchitra mentioned, that he was a modern man. He realized the need that women need to be educated to cope with themselves and be financially independent. And I can imagine in the villages, many would have said, "Ke chokariyon ne su padna bhanavani. એ લોકો તો પરણીને ચાલી જશે. You know, why are you wasting money on them?" But he did realize that no, they needed to study it, and he encouraged them. So very forward thinking for an artist. Yes. So
Take your leave, Mother. I need to
So,
go. But
I
it's wonderful. I mean, the whole effort of putting it up the way you've done it, and a lot of archives that you need to take care of still. So, but at least to have it, I mean, that's also something. That you have all this stuff with you, which is like a treasure trove, of course.
thank you so much for coming.
Sure.
It really means a lot to us. It's an honor.
That's my pleasure totally. I had to learn something too. And we have a lot of blogs in
I know that. Because I was about to say
they are.
we have many receipts and many invoices of Maharani
So we
Chimnabai.
have all the blogs there.
Yes, I went and saw them once.
Saw
Radhika
them.
Ranjan invited us. Yes, and we also went to the Baroda Museum, that endearing image of
In fact,
Washington
we need to
Russia.
know what to do with those blogs. You know, it's like that. Because there's no block printing.
Yes.
But those old blogs are there. And
Yes.
what we should do. I mean, we also need ideas for that.
Yes, and I think you people
Yeah,
are helping
I think
us.
printing.
Yeah.
And you know, work collaborative efforts.
Yes.
Maybe help your archives also in that way.
But our Baroda Museum has 2 glass cases on Saudagiri over there, and this beautiful Washington Russia is in the archive. It's the hidden reserve collection, and I'm surprised in 1972 it was purchased, and there was a purchase committee, and I wonder who would that purchase committee. There is no record of who are the ones who are the part of purchasing committee, because they have to approve the budget. They have to say, okay, out of these, this is the right one to buy, etc. So, but thank you so much. I really
so much
appreciate
and
it.
all the best.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. It's an honor, honestly.
Wonderful experience.
અમને બહુ ગર્વ છે મારા પપ્પા માટે બીજા આખી જિંદગી બહુ મહેનત કરી.
ગામડામાં રહેતા હતા પણ એ એમની ઈચ્છાઓ જે ફૂલફિલ નથી કરી શક્યા બધી અમારા માટે એમને કરી છે. લાઈક દરેક ફેસ્ટિવલ અમને બહુ સારી રીતે ઉજવાયા છે. કોઈ પણ વસ્તુ અમે ગામમાંથી નથી આપણી, બધી અમને સારામાં સારી જગ્યાએથી અપાઈને સારામાં સારું પહેરાવી ઓઢાઈને મોટા કર્યા છે. બહુ જ સારી રીતે અમને ભણાયા કર્યા છે. એમને જેટલું અમારે જે ભણવું હતું એ ભણાવ્યું છે. જે અમને જે લેવું હતું એ બધું અમને અપાયું છે. એમની રીતે આખી જિંદગી અમને મહેનત કરી છે, પણ અમારી માટે એમને થાય એટલું બધું જ કર્યું છે.
મને તો આખા ગામમાંથી કોઈ અમદાવાદ નતું પડતું, મને પહેલી અમદાવાદ કોલેજમાં મૂકેલી.
like to remember my teacher, our teacher Helena. Yeah, the late Helena Perintupa from Finland. And I remember the time we were growing up. I'm from the first batch of students, 1970. Yeah, I think Helena was the one who introduced us, or I would say introduced me, who was a city-bred brat, to craftspersons and crafts. I'm ever grateful to her. And I think that is something that's rubbed off to me, that if the students at NID need to learn about design, I think they first should meet craftspersons. And I think the story which transpired is, I don't remember, but one of these sisters encountered me in Reliance Fresh and started off a conversation. She probably, I don't know which one. And yeah. And the first conversation didn't get too far, but strangely enough, I think this had to happen, and she met me again. And then I think it sort of started falling into place. So immediately I talked to my batchmate Jogi Pangal, and Jogi's immediate reaction is, talk to Mala, matter of fact. And I think I'm very, very happy that Mala responded. And then to cut the story short, one very, very, very heavy rainy day, Mala and Pradeep picked me up from Ashram Road. We got lost in the heavy rain. Finally, we reached there. And then, of course, they transacted. And I told Mala that try and see if you can get every single artifact which is there. If someday going to put it together, at that point she probably didn't have an idea that this would happen. But I'm glad it has happened, yeah.
મારે તેની છેલ્લા વર્ષના 2 વર્ષથી હું એમના ત્યાં જતો હતો. મારું કામકાજ ચાલતું હતું, તે કામકાજ પતાવીને પછી સાંજે એમના ઘરે જઈને એમની બને એટલી સેવાઓ કરતો હતો, કારણ કે એમને આંખે બિચારાને દેખાતું નહોતું.
So there's one more person that we need to hear and for her memories, Kalpana Ben Pare, and she is an extremely significant person in the journey of Maneklal Bhai. Unfortunately, she's not with us today. She could not come from Bombay, but she has sent a voice message sharing her memories of Manek Bhai with all of us. So we can hear a little about what Kalpana Ben has to say.
Maneklal Bhai goes back to maybe 1978-79. And I happened to read an article in a magazine about Pethapur and the block makers there, and about Maneklal Bhai. So when I was visiting Ahmedabad a few months later, I decided to go to Pethapur and meet Maneklal Bhai. So my first impression was that he was very friendly, confident, he took pride in his work, and he loved to welcome visitors. He believed in rituals, and he was also very traditional and Vyavaharik.
I don't know where the project will go, but I just wanted to say 2 things. One is, मुझे बहुत सबकी बातों को सुन के मुझे ईर्ष्या हो रही है कि मैं मानेकलाल को मिल नहीं पाई, पर ये भी कहना चाहती हूँ कि ये रिसर्च करते करते मैं उनको काफ़ी जान पाई हूँ, और वंदिता ने जो फिल्म शेयर की उनको मैंने बार बार देखा है, और उन फिल्म्स के थ्रू मुझे लगता है कि मैं भी उनको जानती हूँ। आपको शायद काफी लोगों को नहीं पता होगा कि वो 6 फुट टॉल, इतनी हाइट थी उनकी, काफी हैंडसम भी थे। थोड़ा फिल्म स्टार की तरह उनके लुक्स थे। तो उनका पासपोर्ट पढ़ के मुझे पता चला कि उनकी हाइट 6 फुट है। तो उसमें 1 मीटर 85 सेंटीमीटर ऐसा कुछ उनका हाइट बताया गया। तो इन छोटी छोटी चीजों से मुझे मैं पिक्चर उनका बना पाई है। और उनके फिल्म्स मैंने इतने बार देखे हैं कि अभी लगता है कि मैं भी उनको थोड़ा जानती हूँ। और उसमें एक चीज उन्होंने कहा जो मुझे बहुत ही प्रभावशाली मुझे लगा। किसी एक फिल्म में वो कहते हैं कि शायद गुजरात विद्यापीठ में उनके ऊपर फिल्म बनाई है, उसमें वो कहते हैं कि परंपरा को जानते हुए ही हम आधुनिक बन सकते हैं। तो अपनी जो परंपरा है उसको जान के हमें सिर्फ परंपरा तक नहीं सीमित रहना है, हमें आधुनिक भी बनना है। और इसका मुझ पर बहुत प्रभाव पड़ा है कि ये पुराने जो रीत रिवाज थे, काम करने के तरीके थे, उसमें से हम सीख के हमारे सामने जो पथ है वो आधुनिकता की तरफ है, पर परंपराओं को साथ में लेकर। तो ये जो उन्होंने सेतु बांधा है परंपरा और आधुनिकता के बीच, ये मुझे काफी मुझ पे एक प्रभाव पड़ा है और ये एक सोच है जो हम सब आगे ले जा सकते हैं। बस इतना ही कहना था मुझे। आगे क्या करेंगे हम?
आज जो मौका हमें मिला है उनको सम्मान देना और कला को भी सम्मान देना है। ये सिर्फ एक कलाकार नहीं है, उनको जो बात करें, दिस इज implications for billions and billions of lives।
एक घड़ी थे, बहुत बड़ा, एक हरी देह, चौड़ा माथा और बातूनी स्वभाव उनकी विशेषता थी। उनका 3 मंजिला घर धूप से अटा हुआ था, वैसे ही जैसे कोई स्त्री विहीन घर हो सकता है। उनके पुराने औजार जिनका लंबे समय से उपयोग नहीं हुआ था, इधर उधर बेतरतीब पड़े हुए थे। दीवारों पर टंगे घर आए विशिष्ट अतिथियों एवं प्रमाण पत्रों के फोटोग्राफ में माणकलाल जी के गौरवशाली अतीत की झलकियां दर्ज थी।
हमारा कॉन्टेक्ट माणकलाल जी से मेरे फादर के टाइम में, मैं तब छोटा था, तो गुर्दरी के डिजाइन कुछ सुलेखा जी ने और मधुरिमा पटनी जी ने बनाए और वो डिजाइन हमको दिए बनाने के लिए। तो इस्माइल भाई और रजाक भाई ने उस टाइम ट्राई किया था। तो सुलेखा जी ने बोला कि ये ब्लॉक नहीं चलेंगे प्रिंटिंग के लिए, तो उसको हम आपको बनवा के देते हैं। तब वो माणकलाल जी से कांटेक्ट हुआ और वहाँ से वो ब्लॉक बन के आए। कुछ ब्लॉक आए हैं जो यहाँ पर रखे हुए भी हैं। तो तब से हमारा माणकलाल जी से कांटेक्ट शुरू हुआ।
She was the first one to go to Ahmedabad from Pethapur to study in the college. Now Gujarat में आता है ना? Now Gujarat. And she finished her BCom. I think my voice goes. She finished her BCom. First in the matriculation in SSC she stood first, and she got 100 on 100 in mathematics. Her father insisted that she must go to college. Like all the other village folk would say, बेटियों को क्यों पढ़ाना, waste of money है, वो लोग तो शादी करके चली जाएगी। But he never listened to any of that. So she finished her BCom and she recently retired after a very successful stint as a official bank manager in Bank of India. So that's her. पापा का काम दूसरे लड़कियों के पिताजी से अलग था। वो आपको कब ध्यान आया कि ऐसे फॉरेनर्स लोग हमारे वहाँ आते हैं, इतने एरल भाई बार आते हैं, लोगों को लेके आते हैं, लोग फोटो खींचते हैं, फिल्म बनाते हैं। तो आपको कुछ लगा कि हमारे पिताजी ऐसा क्या करते हैं जो इतना स्पेशल है?
बहुत ही अपने काम से इतना पैशनेट थे ना, जो अपना काम का आता है तो सब भूल जाते, दुनिया पूरी उनकी भुलाई देती। हम भी अगर कोई पूछे तो हमको आंसर नहीं मिलता था, इतना भी इन काम में इन्वॉल्व हो जाते थे। उनका बहुत ही, उनकी जो लाइफ थी 84 इयर्स वो उसने निकाले उसके काम के पीछे ही थे, वो बहुत ही लगाव था और इतना इंटरेस्ट से दिखाते ना, तो हमको लगा कि नहीं, अवर फादर इज सम टाइप ऑफ डिफरेंट, ही इज अ डायनामिक पर्सन। बहुत ही खुशी से, कितना भी मूड ना हो, तबीयत भी ठीक ना हो, अगर कोई आता है कुछ के काम के लिए देखने तो सब कुछ भूल जाते और इतना एंथुसियाज्म से दिखाते ना, तभी लगा कि नहीं पापा कुछ डिफरेंट तो है ही।
आपको भी ब्लॉक मेकिंग सिखाया?
हाँ, हमने भी सिखाया।
इसके बारे में बोलिए। आप खुशी खुशी सीखी कि अरे पापा बोल?
नहीं, तो हम छोटे छोटे थे ना, तो वैकेशन होते तो क्या करते, तो वो सब कारीगर वर्कर्स बैठते तो उसके बाजू में बैठ जाते, फिर डिजाइन विजाइन सब बनाते। फिर पापा ने थोड़ा थोड़ा सिखाना भी जानते, हम सब जाने हाउ टू मेक ब्लॉक फ्रॉम वुड आई नो एवरीथिंग। बहुत खुशी खुशी हम बनाते जानते हैं। आई एम वेरी वेरी थैंकफुल टू मालाबेन एंड प्रदीप भाई। Miss my father, but now I am feeling that I'm staying. Just now I am at my father's place, just like my father's home. We are not 3 sisters; we are 5 sisters. Yeah, elder is Malaben, with 3, and younger is Vandita. Maybe it's God's destiny, whatever it may be. But Malaben has done very, very, very good job for her, and even Suchitra has. Thank you, very, very good job for my father. Thank you.
So, ये हम GIDC मकरपुरा में हैं। यहाँ हमारा एक छोटा सा प्रिंटिंग का कारखाना है, बोधी। और संजोगवश ऐसे हुआ है कि मानेकलाल गज्जर जो एक बहुत नामी ब्लॉक मेकर थे, जो पेथापुर में रहते थे, पेथापुर जो अहमदाबाद के पास में है, गांधीनगर के बगल में, जो एक जाना जाता है ब्लॉक मेकिंग की, वहाँ पूरी एक बस्ती रहती थी। और मानेकलाल वहीं पले बड़े। उनका ये जो पुश्तैनी बिजनेस था, पुश्तैनी ये उनका काम था ब्लॉक बनाने का। उनके चले जाने के बाद 2012 में वो चल बसे और उनका जो काम 2015 में हम यहाँ ले आए, क्योंकि उनकी बेटियों मेरे पास आई। मानेकलाल को मैं जानती थी काफ़ी साल से, और इस वजह से सामान मेरे पास आया, क्योंकि बेटियों को शायद ऐसे लगा कि मैं उनके पिताजी का उनको अलाइव रख सकूँगी, उनको अमर कर पाऊँगी। अभी ये तो बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेवारी आ गई, पर हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं। मैं और सुचित्रा, मेरी जो ऑथर है, उनका जो मटेरियल हम धीरे धीरे खोल करके, उनकी किताबें पढ़ करके, उनके बारे में जो लिखा गया है वो सब देख करके हम समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि ये आदमी कैसा है। क्योंकि पहले लोग कहते थे कि क्राफ्ट कैसे होता है, कितनी उसमें क्राफ्ट्समैनशिप चाहिए, वो कौन से रीजन में बनता है, पर कोई ऐसे नहीं है बंदा जिसने एक क्राफ्ट्समैन की लाइफ के बारे में लिखा है। तो हम अभी मानेकलाल गज्जर की लाइफ को समझ रहे हैं कि वो कब जन्मे, कौन से टाइम में रहे, किन लोगों के उन लोगों से उनका परिचय हुआ, और उस हिसाब से हमने ये आर्काइव को प्रिजर्व करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। और आज ये बहुत रेलेवेंट है। साहब मुझे पूछ रहे थे कि ये आज की तारीख में क्यों इतना रेलेवेंट है। मैं तो ये कहूँगी कि आज की तारीख में ही ज़्यादा रेलेवेंट है, क्योंकि हम लोग इतना भाग रहे हैं डेवलपमेंट के पीछे कि जो पीछे हम छोड़ क्या रहे हैं उसका कुछ हमें अंदाजा होना चाहिए। हम ये नहीं कह रहे हैं कि हमें वही पकड़ करके बैठना है, हमें आगे जरूर बढ़ना है, पर पीछे हमारे पास जो हेरिटेज है, जो हिस्ट्री है, उसको समझ करके वो आज के ज़माने में कैसे रेलेवेंट हो सकता है, वो ला करके हमें यंगर जनरेशन को दिखाना है।
मैडम, ये जो चीज़ आपने प्रिजर्व किया है, कोशिश कर रहे हैं, आजकल डिजिटल का ज़माना भी है, तो डिजिटाइज करने की कोशिश काफ़ी बनानी चाहिए। इस तरफ भी ध्यान देते हैं।
हमने एक्चुअली डिजिटाइजेशन से ही शुरू किया, क्योंकि ये इतनी फ्रेजाइल पत्ते हैं कि बार बार उसको होल्ड करने की वजह से वो उसकी लाइफ कम होती है, हाथ में बिल्कुल चूरे चूर होकर के आ जाता है ये मटेरियल। तो हमने पहले डिजिटाइजेशन से ही शुरू किया, ताकि ओरिजिनल को हम कम से कम हाथ लगाएं। पर ये सब चीजों को बहुत वक्त लगता है, बहुत पैसे लगते हैं, मैन पावर की जरूरत है। मैं काफी साल मैं खुद ही अपने आप से करती रही। सुचित्रा ज्वाइन हुई, फिर हमें एक छोटी सी ग्रांट मिले IFA को, पर इतने छोटे से अमाउंट में ये सब होता नहीं है। अगर सही तरह से करना हो तो उसके लिए सचमुच में सिर्फ पैसे नहीं, पैसे से काम नहीं हो जाता है। पैसा एक माध्यम है जिसकी वजह से आप दूसरी चीजों को ला सकते हो, अच्छे मैन पावर को, अच्छी चीजों को, जगह को, जहां आप ये संभाल के रख सको, डिजिटाइजेशन वगैरह कर सको। यहाँ पर उनकी एक्चुअली ब्लॉक मेकर जो होते हैं उनके पास ब्लॉक्स नहीं होते, क्योंकि ब्लॉक्स तो वो बना करके अपने क्लाइंट्स को दे देते हैं। तो उनके पास जो होता है वो उनकी परतें होती है, यानी ब्लॉक इम्प्रेशन की पहली जो छाप होती है वो उनके पास हो। तो वो जो करीबन कहते हैं कि लाखे है। मैं तो अब तक मेरे पास ये सामान है 2015 से, पर मैं ढेर देख करके मैं अंदाजा ही नहीं लगा सकती थी कि वो कितने हैं। कभी मैं कहूँ 30,000 होगी, कभी मैं कहूँ 25,000 होगी, कभी मैं कहूँ 50,000 होगी, चलो कोई बात नहीं। पर एक बार उन्होंने एक प्रेस व्यक्ति को, जब वो जिंदा थे, तब ने कहा कि मैंने मेरी जिंदगी में 1 लाख परतें मेरे पास है और करीब 60,000 ब्लॉक्स उन्होंने कार्व करे हैं। तो ये अभी ये कितना सच कितना ये हम नहीं कह सकते, क्योंकि ये तो लिखी हुई बातें, किसने प्रेस वालों को कहा होगा, पर उनका ये अकाउंट है, तो गिनती करेंगे कभी।
अभी जैसे आपने बताया कि रिजर्वेशन हो रहा है, तो अभी आगे एक मिनी म्यूजियम जैसा हुआ है, तो आगे इस चीज को प्रिजर्व करने के बाद किस तरह से इसको यूटिलाइज करेंगे, किस तरह से
लोगों की कोशिश तो वो है, पर जैसे कि आप देख रहे हैं कि ये एक वर्किंग वर्कशॉप है। हमारा पूरा वर्कशॉप अभी ऑलमोस्ट जैसे शिफ्ट हो गया है इसको हाउस करने के लिए। हम इतना वर्कशॉप को डिस्टर्ब शायद ना कर पाए, पर मुझे लगता है कि कुछ ना कुछ तो कोई आ जाएगा बंदा कि कहेंगे कि हम लोग हैंडल करेंगे। आइडियली ये म्यूजियम मुझे लगता है पेथापुर में होना चाहिए, मेरी ये उम्मीद थी सच्चे, पर वो नहीं हुआ। तो कहीं और सही, कोई ना कोई तो आ जाएगा।
પણ પેલે ચાણક કાકા મરી જાય, ચાણક પૂરી થઈ જાય, ચાણક મરે નહીં,
Please, why don't you sit down? Come. Yeah, go ahead, look for it. No, please. Please make it louder. I don't know. I can sit on this. I can sit on this. You say it.
એ સંભાળનાને નાથે વિશ્વભરના હજારો કલારસિકોને પૂછે જેનું નામ એવું આ છે ગુજરાતના ગૌરવસમી કાષ્ઠ કલાનો કિમિયાગર શ્રી માણેકલાલ ગજ્જર।